Scientists couldn't believe that this find is more than 2 billion years old. All these things appeared much earlier than we could have thought. I will show you archaeological finds that will drive you crazy. Real photos of the oldest people in history, a bag made of dog teeth, the most ancient living organism, and why Neanderthals loved sweets. Watch this video to learn about these discoveries and more. Hi friend, you are on the KirTop channel. The oldest mineral on Earth. In 2001, a unique zircon crystal was discovered in Australia, which is recognized as the oldest mineral on Earth. Its age is an impressive 4.4 billion years, which makes it a witness to the earliest stages of the formation of our planet. This tiny crystal gives scientists the opportunity to understand how the Earth cooled and formed in its first billion years. Today, this rare artifact can be seen in the Geological Museum of the University of Wisconsin in Madison, USA. Zirconium is interesting not only for its age, but also because its resistance to destruction allows it to preserve information about ancient processes that took place on Earth, which makes it a real keeper of the history of our planet. Soap. This is one of the oldest hygiene products. Archaeologists found the first mention of soap on clay tablets from Mesopotamia, which are about 3,500 years old. However, many scientists believe that soap was used earlier. In ancient Egypt, papyri found in the burials of the pharaohs contain references to the rulers washing themselves using soap. Soap in those days was made from a mixture of fats and ash, which entering into a chemical reaction formed a soap solution. This ancient product was important not only for hygiene but also for the treatment of skin diseases. Over time, soap recipes improved, and already in ancient Rome, soap became more widespread. Thus, the history of soap goes back thousands of years, and it has always played a key role in maintaining cleanliness and health. Stone Age bag. Around 2500 BC, a Neolithic man in what is now Germany found an ingenious way to decorate his bag. During excavations near Leipzig in 2012, archaeologists found more than 100 dog teeth neatly arranged in a grave, suggesting that they decorated the flap of the bag. Archaeologists noted that over time, the leather or fabric of the bag disappeared, leaving only the teeth pointing in one direction. These teeth likely decorated the outside of the bag. All of them are arranged in the same way, reminiscent of a modern flap. These finds were made in the Profan quarry. Other important artifacts were found in the same area, including the burial of a woman who lived around 50 BC, buried with half a kilogram of gold jewelry. However, even against the backdrop of such rich finds, the bag with dog teeth was a real discovery. This is the first time that archaeologists have found direct evidence of the existence of such an accessory. The teeth of a dozen dogs were used to decorate this bag. In other burials of the time, archaeologists also found wolf teeth, dog teeth, and shells, which were apparently used to decorate bedspreads and clothing. When the fabric decomposed, only these decorative elements remained. Brewing. The history of beer begins in the Neolithic period more than 11,000 years ago. It is one of the oldest drinks that accompanied humanity in the early stages of its development. Some scientists even hypothesize that people began to grow grain not for food, but to brew beer. This drink could be not just a way to quench thirst, but also played an important role in rituals and communication. Brewing is mentioned in one of the oldest literary works, the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is about 3.8 thousand years old. This text, created in Mesopotamia, shows that beer was already known and valued in society. Beer also played an important role in the legislation of that time. In the Code of Hammurabi, a collection of Babylonian laws, beer establishments are mentioned as places that were especially strictly monitored. The owner of a pub had to maintain order, and if criminals gathered in his establishment, he could be sentenced to death. The ancient Egyptians were also big beer lovers. Pyramid builders received a liter of beer every day for their work. Interestingly, high-ranking officials received as much as 5 liters per day, which emphasizes how important beer was in ancient society. A cat kneaded dough. This discovery was made during excavations on Mount Zion in Jerusalem, where among numerous finds, a fragment of a clay jug with prints of a cat's paw and claw marks was found. These marks belonged to a cat which probably kneaded the clay while it was still drying before firing. This is the first such find in archaeology, confirming that a cat felt so comfortable that it indulged in its usual feline behavior on clay. The fragment of the jug dates back to the Abbasid era, around 750 CE. The marks were not immediately discovered during excavations, but in the laboratory when the director of the laboratory, Gretchen Cotter, was carefully studying the materials found on Mount Zion. The paw print measures about 3x3 centimeters, and the depth of the claw marks suggests that the cat likely stretched and extended its claws, leaving deep marks in the wet clay. Cat kneading is an instinctive behavior that is commonly associated with feelings of security and contentment. Cats do this when they feel relaxed and content. Such animal prints on pottery are not uncommon in archaeology, but this is the first time evidence has been found of a cat leaving claw marks during the kneading process. Other animals, such as dogs and birds, often left marks in clay as it was drying before it was fired. This case is unique not only because it is the first time kneading has been recorded on a piece of pottery, but also because this ancient feline behavior has changed little over the millennia. Cats continue to knead soft surfaces, whether blankets, pillows, or our laps, which brings them a sense of calm and pleasure. Ancient Christian Church. Archaeologists have discovered the remains of an Armenian church almost 2,000 years old, making it one of the oldest in the world and the oldest on Armenian territory. The University of Münster in Germany, which collaborated with the Armenian Academy of Sciences on the excavations, called the find sensational evidence of early Christianity in Armenia. The church was found during excavations in Artashat, which was once a thriving metropolis and the capital of the ancient Armenian kingdom. Experts believe that the church was built in the 4th century AD, the same time as the Etchmiadzin Cathedral, the first Armenian church and considered the oldest in the world. The building is the oldest archaeologically confirmed temple in Armenia. It is the first known octagonal church in Armenia. Similar structures are found on the eastern coast of the Mediterranean Sea and also date back to the 4th century. The church resembled early Christian memorial buildings with a diameter of about 30 meters. The floor was made of a mixture of sand and cement, and the walls were made of terracotta, probably brought from Greece or Italy. Scientists also found traces of wooden platforms, which allowed them to accurately date the structure using radiocarbon dating. Board games. The love of board games in mankind arose thousands of years ago. These games appeared before many civilizations and accompanied people for thousands of years. The most ancient game, according to archaeologists, was dice games. Cubes found during excavations and dating back more than 5,000 years are almost indistinguishable from modern ones. This confirms that the passion for the game existed in prehistoric times. One of the most ancient games with a board and chips is the Egyptian game of Senet, which arose around 3,500 BC. According to legend, it was invented by the god of wisdom Thoth to lift the curse of the goddess of the sky nut imposed by the god of the moon Khonsu. Senet was not just entertainment, but also a game with a sacred meaning, symbolizing the struggle between good and evil, as well as the path of the soul to the afterlife. In the East, one of the most ancient games is considered to be Go, the history of which begins around 2000 BC. This strategy game, still popular today, symbolized wisdom and concentration. Backgammon, on the other hand, probably originated in ancient Iran and appeared about 5,000 years ago, although the rules were not documented until Byzantium in the 5th century AD. The Romans also loved board games and played them in taverns where they ate and had fun. Often game boards were carved directly into the tables. Although gambling was prohibited on the streets, it was freely played indoors. Archaeologists have also found cheating dice with a weight inside, which indicates attempts at cheating even in ancient times. Real Indiana Jones find. Archaeologists have made an astonishing discovery beneath one of Jordan's biggest tourist attractions. 12 complete skeletons found in a tomb beneath the iconic structure in Petra known as the Treasury, Al-Khazna. The site was made famous by the film Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. The treasury, which is believed to be a mausoleum, was carved by the Nabatean people around 2,000 years ago. Petra was the capital of the Nabatean kingdom, and its majestic structures carved from pink stone still amaze the imagination. The discovery will help us learn more about the ancient Nabateans. Many other tombs in Petra contained only fragments of human remains, but this tomb contained 12 complete skeletons. This important find will allow us to study the rituals surrounding the life and death of the Nabateans, as well as their way of life, based on the analysis of their teeth and bones. The tomb has been tentatively dated to between the 1st century BC and the 1st century AD, during the height of the Nabatean kingdom, which was annexed by Rome in 106. One of the skeletons was found to contain a ceramic vessel reminiscent of the famous bowl from the Indiana Jones film, adding further intrigue to the find. Lifeboy. The Assyrians are known for their military achievements and technological innovations that have had a significant impact on history. They created the first regular army, introduced cavalry to replace chariots, and developed military engineering troops with siege weapons. These innovations made the Assyrians one of the most powerful military forces of their time. But in addition to their famous brutality on the battlefield, there is an interesting fact about how they solved the problem of crossing rivers. One of the unique inventions of the Assyrians was an individual flotation device, the prototype of a modern lifebuoy. Warriors used inflatable water skins filled with air to cross water obstacles. These water skins, made of animal skin, were easily inflated and helped to stay on the surface of the water, allowing warriors to safely cross rivers and avoid the danger of drowning. This simple yet brilliant idea was extremely effective and allowed the Assyrians to move quickly even through difficult water obstacles, giving them a tactical advantage. This invention can be considered an early predecessor of modern lifebuoys. Such water skins not only helped warriors, but were also used in everyday life to ferry people and goods. This method was practical and widely used in regions with large rivers and bodies of water. The moment Ernest Shackleton's ship sank. It was a miracle when the Endurance was discovered under the ice of Antarctica in 2022. Now, thanks to modern 3D scans, we can see the ship that sank in 1915 in incredible detail. These scans show what the ship looked like when it was trapped in ice during Ernest Shackleton's Imperial Trans-Antarctic expedition. The technology used to scan it captured details such as plates scattered across the deck, a boot on the railing, and even traces of a signal flare fired to bid farewell to the ship. The Endurance is almost completely intact, as if it had sunk only recently. These unique 3D scans allow scientists to study the ship, which is considered one of the most inaccessible in the world due to its remote location and ice cover. Oldest photographs of people. Old photographs in family albums can contain rare snapshots of ancestors born in the early 19th century. But who was the very first person to be photographed? Several historical figures whose photographs have survived to this day lay claim to this title. Hannah Stille Gorby. She was born in 1746 and lived in Delaware. Apparently, Hannah was a housewife and farmer. Stille's photograph was taken in 1839, when she was 93 years old. This is one of the oldest photographs of a person that has survived. Conrad Heyer. This man was born in Waldoboro when it was part of the province of Massachusetts Bay. He was born around 1753, although the year of his birth is disputed. It is believed that his photograph was taken in the early 1850s. Mary Monroe Sanderson. Born in 1748 in the Massachusetts Bay Colony, Mary lived until 1852 when she was 104 years old. Aunt Moser. Her photograph was taken in 1852. At the time of the photo, she was, according to various sources, 103 years old, which also makes her one of the oldest women to be photographed. Ezra Green. Born in 1746 in Massachusetts, Ezra became an army surgeon. He lived to be 101 years old, dying in 1847. Green's photograph is one of the earliest surviving. John Adams. John was born in 1744 and, in addition to serving in the army, worked as a shoemaker. 2 years before his death at the age of 104, he posed for a daguerreotype portrait, which is considered one of the oldest. Balthus Stone. George Washington's Army veteran, born in 1747, posed for a photograph at the age of 103. He died shortly thereafter. John Owen. Born in Salisbury in 1735, Owen lived to be 107, making him one of the longest-lived people ever photographed. Caesar, an African slave, was born around 1737. He outlived several generations of masters during his life. At the age of 115, he posed for one of the earliest daguerreotype portraits of African Americans. Caesar died in 1852, leaving behind a rare record of black life in the 19th century. All of these people have left their mark on history not only because of their long lives, but because their images have been preserved in photographs, allowing us to see the past. Ancient banks. The practice of lending valuables at interest dates back to ancient times, long before the advent of money. People already exchanged goods or services with the obligation to return more than was received. With the advent of a monetary economy, usury became the basis of credit transactions. One of the oldest legal documents, the Laws of Hammurabi, compiled in the 18th century BC, already contains articles regulating usury. For example, Babylonian laws limited the interest rate and prohibited collecting debts from people affected by natural disasters, which can be considered an early form of protecting the rights of borrowers. Real banks, as full-fledged credit organizations, appeared in Babylon around the 8th century BC. These institutions provided services related to storing money, lending, and currency exchange. In ancient Greece, banking functions were performed by trapezites, people who were engaged in currency exchange. However, their activities were not limited to this. They opened accounts for their clients, provided loans, and even carried out money transfers. Thus, even then, banks played an important role in the economy. In ancient times and the Middle Ages, loans with interest were often condemned and prohibited by religions. Christianity and Islam actively fought usury, considering it an immoral and unrighteous activity. Nevertheless, the need for loans always existed, and people found ways to circumvent religious prohibitions. For example, in medieval Europe, Jews, who were not subject to Christian prohibitions, often became usurers, which made them an important part of the economic system of that time. The oldest fabric. Fabric is one of the oldest inventions of mankind, and its history goes back tens of thousands of years. One of the oldest finds is a fragment of fabric, the age of which is estimated at 34000 years. This amazing artifact was discovered in the Georgia Cave in Georgia. Its age indicates that even at that time, people knew how to make and use textiles. These ancient fragments of fabric were made from plant fibers that were twisted into threads and then woven. This technology was a major step in the development of human communities, since it made it possible to create not only clothing, but also various household items such as baskets, fishing nets, and tools for carrying loads. This find shows that the ability to work with fibers developed in people long before the advent of complex tools and technologies. The first vending machine. The city of Alexandria in Egypt was a true pearl of the Hellenistic era, a center of science, culture, and innovation. It was there that the Museum was located, the first prototype of a university in history, as well as the famous Library of Alexandria, which stored knowledge from all over the ancient world. In this city in the 1st century AD, the outstanding scientist and inventor Heron of Alexandria lived and worked. His contribution to science and technology was truly enormous. He studied mathematics, optics, hydrostatics, and also created prototypes of such inventions as the theodolite, odometer, and even a steam turbine with jet propulsion. However, one of his inventions is especially interesting in the context of everyday life. Heron created the world's first vending machine. This amazing mechanism was located at the entrance to the temple and dispensed a portion of holy water for drinking and washing hands. The principle of operation was simple. A visitor to the temple threw in a 5 drachma coin, and the machine released a certain amount of water. The device worked thanks to the weight of the coin, which set in motion a lever that opened the valve. It may seem that such a simple system could be easily deceived by throwing something else instead of a coin. However, modern researchers and reconstructors claim that the machine could be adjusted to a strictly defined weight and size of the coin, which made attempts at fraud practically useless. This mechanism, despite its simplicity, was a brilliant find for that time and showed how progressive the ideas of Heron of Alexandria were. Crown. The oldest crown found to date was discovered in the Nahal Mishmara hoard in 1961 in the Judean desert near the Dead Sea. This amazing hoard included more than 400 objects dating back to the Copper Age. The crown, made of blackened copper, has a diameter of about 18 centimeters, and its upper edge is decorated with 5 figures. Among them are 2 long-necked birds, presumably vultures, stylized doors or gates, and a T-shaped object which may symbolize the hilt of a sword. Along with the crown, a scepter with images of horned animals, a copper wicker basket, and many ceramic vessels and bowls were found in the hoard. Despite the majestic appearance of the crown, scientists do not believe that it was worn by a ruler. Most likely, it was used in ritual ceremonies or funeral rites. It remains a mystery how these treasures could have been kept in a cave for thousands of years. and this crown can be considered the first crown in the form we are accustomed to. The first concrete. The ancient Romans left behind an incredible architectural legacy. Their large-scale projects, bridges, roads, aqueducts, and of course majestic buildings amaze us to this day. Among the most famous buildings of ancient Rome are the Colosseum, the symbol of the city, and the lesser-known but no less impressive Pantheon Temple. The Pantheon is famous for its huge dome, which remained unrivaled in diameter until the 20th century. One of the key factors in the success of Roman builders was the use of concrete, or as they called it, opus cementitium. Roman concrete was a real revolution in construction. It was a mixture of sand, crushed stone, lime, and volcanic rock, which made it strong and durable. This material allowed the Romans to build not only massive but also durable structures, many of which have survived to this day. Interestingly, modern research shows a unique feature of Roman concrete: its ability to self-heal. When microcracks formed in the material, the interaction of water and volcanic dust led to chemical reactions that sealed these cracks. This became one of the main secrets of the incredible durability of Roman buildings, which survived thousands of years. While modern concrete begins to deteriorate after a few decades, Roman structures made using this ancient technology continue to stand to this day. Skeleton Lake. Hundreds of human skeletons have been found at the bottom of Rupkund Lake in the Indian Himalayas, earning it the nickname Skeleton Lake. The skeletons vary widely in age, and it is still unclear how they all died. Previously, it was thought that they could have been the victims of a single disaster, such as a powerful storm that killed a large group of people. Recent research has only complicated the mystery. Scientists analyzed the DNA of 38 bodies found and found that the remains belonged to people from different eras, thousands of years apart. These people arrived at the lake at different times, disproving the theory that a single group died en masse. The research began a decade ago when geneticist Kumarasamy Thangaraj of the Indian Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology sequenced the mitochondrial DNA of 72 skeletons. Some were of Indian origin, but some of the remains belonged to people with DNA typical of Western Europeans, particularly Crete and Greece. Interestingly, the time range of these finds also turned out to be varied. Most of the bones date back to the 7th to 10th centuries AD, but among them there are also remains dating back to the 19th to 20th centuries. The causes of death of these people remain unclear, which adds to the mystery of this place. These microbes are 2 billion years old. Scientists have discovered the oldest microorganisms living in the depths of our planet. Rocks about 2 billion years old were found in South Africa, which is impressive in itself, but even more sensational was the discovery of living microbes in them. These organisms are the oldest microorganisms ever found in such ancient rocks. Before this discovery, it was believed that the oldest living microorganisms were found in geological layers about 100 million years old under the ocean floor. But a new study has shown that even rocks 2 billion years old can be habitable. This discovery significantly expands our understanding of life in extreme conditions and its evolution on Earth. The microbes were discovered in a crack in an ancient rock extracted from the Bushveld igneous complex, the largest intrusion of igneous rock on Earth. This region is famous for its ore deposits, including about 70% of the world's platinum reserves. Microorganisms that live in such conditions develop incredibly slowly and can survive for billions of years. This discovery is important not only for the study of life on Earth, but also for future exploration of Mars. Microbes that survive in such extreme conditions give hope for the possibility of life existing beneath the surface of other planets. Ancient love for sweets. People developed a love for sweets long before their diet changed, and scientists have found that our ancestors were ready for it thanks to ancient DNA. The AMI1 gene, which is responsible for breaking down complex carbohydrates, appeared much earlier than previously thought and may have played a key role in the development of civilization. The digestion process begins in the mouth, where saliva contains amylase, an enzyme that converts starch into simple carbohydrates. It was previously believed that this enzyme arose with the onset of agriculture when bread and starchy foods appeared in people's diets. However, a study by the University of Buffalo and the Jackson Laboratory, USA, has shown that salivary amylase existed more than 800,000 years ago, long before the advent of agriculture. long before the advent of agriculture. A study of ancient genomes, including people who lived 4,500 years ago in Siberia, revealed that they already had 4 to 8 copies of the AMI1 gene. This suggests that the mutation responsible for amylase synthesis arose as a result of natural selection. Moreover, this gene was present in both Neanderthals and Denisovans, which confirms its ancient origin. The comparison also showed that modern Europeans, especially farmers of the last 4,000 years, have an increased number of copies of this gene, which is associated with a change in diet. DNA of modern Japanese. Today, Japan attracts people from all over the world, but it was not always so. For 10,000 years, the archipelago remained isolated until the first migrants from the mainland began to arrive there. This was confirmed by genetic analysis of the remains of a man of the Yayoi era. The Japanese population has a dual origin, but the details of this mixing remained unclear for a long time. Scientists from the University of Tokyo, led by Jong-hyun Kim and Jun Ohashi, decided to look into the matter. According to their data, about 80% of the nuclear genome of modern Japanese people comes from people from East and Northeast Asia. There are 2 models that explain the genetic diversity of the Japanese. One assumes a single wave of migration during the Yayoi and Kofun periods, the other allows for several sources. Geneticists analyzed the genome of a man of the Yayoi era from the Doigahama Cemetery and compared it with ancient and modern populations. It turned out that the Yayoi and Kofun people are genetically closer to Koreans than modern Japanese, confirming the hypothesis of a single source of migration from the Korean peninsula. 10,000-year-old chewing gum. 10,000 years ago in what is now Sweden, a group of teenagers chewed birch tar, similar to children chewing gum today. They could not even imagine that in the future, scientists would analyze their chewing remains and find out many interesting facts about their diet, lifestyle, and even health. 3 pieces of birch pitch used as glue in the Stone Age were found in the 1990s at a site called Huseby Cleve. Microbial DNA analysis of the resin showed high levels of bacteria associated with gum disease, such as Treponema denticola and Streptococcus aeruginosus. The study of these samples showed that the ancient teenagers suffered from caries and periodontal disease and also ate deer, trout, hazelnuts, and processed fox and wolf fur. Scientists have also found traces of birds and other animals, indicating their use as food and the processing of bones into tools. Traces of mistletoe were found in the gums of the specimens, suggesting the plant's possible use in medicine or as a poison for arrowheads. The discovery provides a unique insight into the lives of hunter-gatherers on the west coast of Scandinavia 9,700 years ago, allowing us to learn about their diet and dental problems. And we are only talking about very old chewing gum that children chewed. And thanks to modern technologies, they can already tell so much about the lifestyle of people who lived 12,000 years ago. A slave's own harem. Pata Seca, a black slave who lived in Brazil in the 19th century, went down in history as a breeding bull used to increase the slave population on plantations. His real name was Roque José Florencio, and he fathered over 200 children with different women. These children, born to work, inherited the status of slaves, their birth being part of the owner's plans to increase the workforce on the plantations. The situation was exacerbated in early 1808 when Britain banned the slave trade. This event led to a decrease in the flow of slaves from Africa, which threatened the business of the plantation owners. In response, they began to increase the number of slaves by increasing the birth rate among the existing slaves. Pata Seca, with his physical attributes, 218 centimeters tall and strong build, became the ideal candidate for this purpose. He was bought specifically for this role and brought to a plantation near Sao Paulo. Interestingly, Pata Seca did not do hard work, but lived separately from other slaves, wore good clothes, and carried out simple tasks for his master. Despite the privileges, he remained a slave whose main duty was to impregnate the slaves chosen by the master. His life, although comparatively easier, remained essentially humiliating. Pata Seca's children did not have any special status. They became ordinary slaves, were tortured, and could even be killed with impunity. Many of these children themselves became parents. Recent genetic studies have shown that about 30% of the population of the Santa Eudoxia São Carlos district are descended from Pata Seca. Pata Seca lived to see the abolition of slavery in Brazil in 1888. He was still quite young and received a plot of land from his former master. On this land, Pata built a house, married a woman named Palmyra, and became the father of 9 children. He spent the rest of his life as a free man, taking care of his family and the new generation that no longer knew slavery. I will finish this video with this sad story with a happy ending, but I strongly recommend you to subscribe to the channel and watch other videos on the channel that will immerse you in the world of archaeology and history. Thank you for watching this video to the end. Bye, everyone.